going to do a quick video on how to make the little leather cosmetic bags. We did some for a customer for awards, and I had some people asking for the template. So I went ahead and got the template made and put it on the website. And now I'm just following up with a real quick video on how these go together. They're super easy. Pretty much all you need is a 9-inch zipper for this particular size. There's ways you can kind of finish them off a little nicer. Like I did on this one, I went ahead and folded my seam down and top stitched it. I put the zipper tabs. But for this purpose of this video, we're gonna keep it really simple. Because I know a lot of people don't have skivers, and when you're doing something like this around the top, then you really want to skive that top edge so you can fold it down and get a nice smaller seam or smaller edge up there. So anyway, basically all we really need for this is we need a 9-inch zipper. Number 5 zipper is what I use. A template, your leather. We're going to use some clips and double-sided sticky tape. This is super helpful when you're putting zippers in. That makes your zipper, you get a nice smooth zipper. There's nothing worse than having a Ripley zipper across the top of your bag. So if you've got a Ripley zipper, you kind of want to work on that, because that's, to me, that's indication just, it's kind of sloppy. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and get this bag made. Now I also made a little side tab for mine that I'm gonna sew in there. But anyway, I got one of them already cut out. So we're gonna cut out the other one. Now, I just use a box knife, is what I use. Also too, I wanted to point this out because I found these and they're super helpful. But anyway, I added these little grippy things to the back of my templates, which is awesome so that your template doesn't slide around on your leather. The ones I got were from Hobby Lobby. They're kind of spendy, so make sure if you go to Hobby Lobby, use your 40% off coupon, your daily coupon that you get with your app. Otherwise, you can get them on Amazon Prime if you have Amazon Prime, a different brand. So anyway, but they do seem to help keep the template from sliding around when you're trying to cut. Now what you can do is you could trace the pattern to the back side of your leather and then cut. And that is helpful when it's a bigger template and you have to worry about it sliding around. But for the purpose of this one, I'm just gonna go ahead and place it on my leather and cut. And I've already cut one out, and I have a straight edge, so I'm gonna utilize that straight edge for part of the this pattern. Also, I find when doing corners, I like to cut out of the corner. So don't cut into the corner of your template, cut away. Okay, so we're done with that, and we're done with the leather. Okay, so first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mark on the back. I wanna mark, actually on the front, take that back. I'm gonna mark my center. And there's a center mark. If you look at the template, there's a center line, and then there's also this C for center. Now that represents the center of the actual finished bag. So that's from there, and there you can see on the template I've got some stitch marks because this is going to be all a 3/8 inch seam, and then this represents kind of the fold of the finished bag, and then here's the line at the bottom, which lines up with those dotted seams. That's the bottom. So that center is from there to there. So if you ever want to put a patch on it or so forth, you can lay it on here and you can use your template with the grids to kind of visually make sure that it's centered where you want it on the bag. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my template and I'm just gonna drop it down from the top a little bit. I've just got like this little wax pencil I use, and I'm just gonna put a little mark in the center at the top on both pieces. And that's what I'm gonna use to center up my zipper. Okay, so now I've got my number 5-inch, or number 5 9-inch zipper. And I'm gonna do the same thing on my zipper. And when they say a 9-inch zipper, it's from that to the stop. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to center up, or find the center between there, and I'm gonna make a line right on my zipper. So I know that's the center of my zipper. Okay, we're gonna grab our double-sided tape. And we're gonna put a piece along the very top edge of the leather. Actually, I'm gonna drop it down just like a little bit, because that way I can stitch right along the edge and I'm not stitching through the tape. You find the other end. This tape actually I ordered from Wawak, WAWAK.com. I guess that's how you pronounce it, I don't know. Also Springfield or Tandy sells it. This is just a 1/4 inch stick tape. Okay, so we've got our tape on both our pieces. So what I'm gonna do is, for the purpose of this, now you can, like I said, if you want, you to kind of dress some of these up. If you want to paint this edge, you could do that. If you wanted to do it like this bag, you would just have to flip it and then sew it and then come back, flip it down and top stitch it. But for the purpose of this one, we're gonna keep it really, really simple, because like I said, I know a lot of you guys don't have skivers and to be able to skive this down and make it a nicer, thinner leather to turn it. So all I'm gonna do is peel that tape off, and I'm just gonna line up with those center marks. And I got the top of the leather about a 1/4 or about 1/8 of an inch, I'd say, away from the edge of the zipper. You wanna get it pretty close, but you wanna make sure that you have enough room that your zipper doesn't get hung up. So you don't want it like right up against the zipper. Like that. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go over the sewing machine and I'm gonna sew that. I'll be right, I'm gonna pause it and I will move over to the sewing machine. Okay, so this is my Cobra Class 20 that I use for all my bags. I've got it set up right now with 138 thread. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna run just our stitch line to sew this side of the zipper on it, and then we're gonna go back and put the other side on. So I've got my setting about 4 is what my stitch length is. We're gonna just wanna make sure that we move this zipper kind of out of the way. And then once we get past it, we can move it back up so it's back out of our way up on the top. So there's our stitch line. Oops. All right, let me go grab the other one and we'll go ahead and get that one sewed on. Okay, I went ahead and grabbed the other piece and I went ahead and taped it on. So you can see the thing is here now you want to make sure that you got your sides nice and parallel. And also make sure when you tape it or when you position it that your spacing is consistent on the top and the bottom of your zipper. You also see on these zipper tapes that there's some fine lines, and those kind of, you can use those lines as guidance to make sure your zipper is straight and parallel. You don't want it kind of wonky. So, all right. Okay, grab those tails. All right. We're gonna stop. Always make sure when you stop to move your zipper that you got your needle in the down position so that it doesn't move. So we're gonna get that zipper out of the way and finish up. All right. Oops. Okay. There we go. So now what we need to do is we're going to sew the sides and the bottom. Now I put a little side tag in mine that I did with my laser. So I'm going to position that. Actually, first what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip the sides. Now the key here is making sure we're going to actually, I like to start from the bottom and sew to the top, but what we want to make sure is that it's nice and lined up at the top, because you don't want it to be shifted. Okay, now I can stick this in here. Clip that. Okay. We got this side ready, and we're just going to sew. Like I said, I like to sew from the bottom up, and we're doing 3/8 inch seams. Now I don't worry about back stitching here because I'm going to actually just tie off my tails. So what I want to do is get the needle down. Now I do back stitch at the top. And go ahead and trim those close. I can trim off those. I use a little lighter to burn my edges or my tails. And then on this end, I like to tie them. Okay, so there's one side. We're gonna do the same thing. Now this side, this time make sure that you open your zipper because I sometimes forget that. So you want your zipper partially open. And make sure everything's lined up nice and level at the top. Put your clips in. These are these little wonder clips. They're pretty handy. You can get those on Amazon too. Okay. Again, I did not backstitch at the beginning, but I did backstitch at the end. We're gonna trim those, get those off. And tie this. Okay, now we're going to close up the bottom. And then when I do the bottom, I don't backstitch at the beginning or the end. I'll just go ahead and tie those off as well. So basically we're about done. We only have 2 more seams to do and we're done. This is an unlined one. Now, if you were wanting to line it, which we could do, but there's gonna be a little bit more steps involved. Obviously, maybe we'll do that at a different video. But I find that these, I don't necessarily think the lining is super important. I guess it kind of depends on the price point that you're selling them. If you were selling them for a higher amount, then you'd want nice lining in them, maybe something that's kind of water resistant so that you can wipe it down if you're gonna put makeup and stuff in it. But okay, so really the only thing we have left to do is we just gotta close up these corners. Okay, so here's all we have to do is we're gonna just take this bag and we're gonna go like that. And that's how you make your box corner. Now, this is really important, is to make sure that your side seams and your bottom seam line up. You don't want it like that, because again, those little things is, I think, is what kind of small little attention to detail is what makes it look better. And I'm going to open up the seams. And I'm not gonna lie, sometimes getting that to be exactly lined up is a challenge, and I'm not saying that mine are always perfect, but I do strive to make sure that those line up really good. Okay. Now I just clip, well, we'll put 2 clips in there for now. This is a little 3-inch box bottom. You could do the same bag, the same concept. I wouldn't probably go any smaller than like 2.5 inches unless you had a much thinner leather, because this sometimes even is challenging to get this turned and to get this the bottom closed up. So okay, so we've got it pinned. Make sure that on the bottom that your side seam is opened. Hold your tails, put your needle down. So I start in probably maybe 1/4 inch, and then I actually backstitch first. Which sometimes holding your tails, holding your item, and holding this button, this reverse, is kind of a challenge. But backstitch a few steps and then go forward. That's like almost perfect. All right, so we just gotta do the other side. So watch, going over those 2 seams is a little bit, I just do it slow, it's a little challenging, but now if you did have a skiver, a bell skiver, or if you are so inclined to skive it yourself, you could skive those side seams and all those seams down. It would help when you turn this back. And you can see I goofed because I did not hold. That was on the bottom and it did not get butterflied open. So we're just gonna go back and fix that. Just do it from the top side this time so I can see what I'm doing. So we're just going to kind of stitch just right over where we did. Well, that doesn't sound right. Okay, I'm back. Had a little mess in my bobbin, but got that all figured out. So we've got both sides done. Sides, bottom, corners, everything's done. Now all we have to do is just turn it inside out. So what we're gonna do is we wanna trim these corners a little bit, just so that kind of helps us when we turn it. And I don't have my scissors, so I'm gonna pause, I'll be right back. Okay, sorry about that. So all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna trim, first of all, I'm gonna trim up the sides and cut that end of that zipper off. And then I'm just going to trim about at a 45, just take the little end off. Just make sure that you don't cut into where you stitched. You don't get too close. And then I'm just gonna take my lighter again and just kind of burn the edges of that zipper tape to kind of melt it a little bit. Okay. All right, well, we're ready to turn her. We're just gonna grab the bottom. If anybody is unfamiliar with the terminology in bag making, we are, I guess they call them birthing the bag, although most of the time that's done with a liner, but this leather is a little bit thinner than, I've got some of this in brown and it's a little bit thicker. This one's just a little thinner, so it's a lot easier to deal with. So we're just gonna turn those, push those corners out. And we can see now how good of a job we did lining up our sides, and see we got pretty close. That's pretty much right on. All right. Now, the only one that's kind of sometimes a challenge is the zipper end, where the zipper starts, so, or the actual zipper ends, I take that back. So what you gotta do is just, we're just gonna have to kind of push it and flip it. And if you have one of those bone creasers, that kind of helps, but sometimes depending on your leather, this could be kind of challenging to get that flipped. So you just want that turned. And voila, we're all finished. So you can see, like I said, these are so easy. These are great for you to, lots of options that you can do on these. You could add some little fringe, would be kind of cute. You could add a loop and a D-ring. You could do a contrasting panel in the front. You could do a contrasting panel at the bottom. You could add some decorative spot designs down the front. You could add some buckstitch. Lots of different things you could do. You could I said you could put little D-rings on the sides. You can make it just a little bit bigger. If you want to make it even taller, make a cute little purse. You could put little loops, D-rings on the sides and make a handle. And that would be pretty easy to accomplish without changing much on the template, except just adding to the top on each panel. So lots of options. Super easy. This takes right at a square foot of leather, just a little bit under. I'm gonna come out with probably a bigger one. And then I was thinking about doing one that's kind of more longer and narrow, kind of more, you can call it like a brush bag or something like that. So anyway, I hope you guys like it. If you have any questions, just put them below. And I also will put a link below to the actual template if you want to purchase it. So thank you so much, and I hope this was informative.